Forget about the mitochondria. Everyone calls them the powerhouse, but there's a bigger, bolder player in the room. This one isn't just a battery, it's a massive industrial complex. Hi, my name is Sasha. I'm a PhD in cell biology, and today we're exposing the cell's most underrated architect. For decades, textbooks lie to us. They call the ER a boring, static bag of proteins. But a new type of microscopy shattered that myth. The ER isn't sitting still. It's a pulsing, vibrating web that builds its own highways in milliseconds. It's even a little violent. We're seeing the ER hijack its neighbors and hugging the mitochondria until they snap. The ER is huge. It stretches across your entire cell like a giant spiderweb. And it's a high-speed construction site, churning out the fats and proteins that keep you alive. But it's also the cell's ultimate manager, telling other organelles what to do, how to work, and exactly where to stand. Now, by using a new type of microscopy called GI-SIM, we can finally see the ER in all its glory. And it's not a bag. It's a shifting labyrinth of sheets and tubules, one that is constantly moving, vibrating, and remodeling itself. But this discovery blew the researchers' minds. How can something so big and so complex rebuild itself in real time without falling apart? Think of your cells like a building. It has a scaffold made of microtubules. These are the heavy-duty cables that provide support. Throughout the scaffold, the ER has its own branches and tubules. And when scientists dissolve these microtubule cables in the lab, the ER collapsed into a messy puddle of large sheet-like shapes. So clearly, the ER needs the microtubules for support. But it turns out the microtubule cables aren't just for leaning on. When scientists filmed them together, they found a secret partnership. See, the ER doesn't just grow, it engineers itself. And it's dependent on those heavy-duty cables to pull this off. Scientists found at least 6 maneuvers the ER uses to reshape itself. It often starts with a fresh tubule growing out of its membrane. This can grab onto motor proteins and zip along the cables like it's a high-speed racetrack. It can also attach onto the tip of a growing cable, hitching a ride as the beam shoots forward. Or, the other way around, it can hook onto a collapsing cable, letting it drag across the cell. Now, instead of growing, the ER can also remodel. It reshapes its existing rings by letting them slide and buckle along the cables. But sometimes, the ER doesn't need cables at all. It can sprout a new branch out of thin air. This off-roading allows the ER to push into the tightest corners of your cells where the microtubules don't fit, like in nerve cells with their thin, crowded dendritic spines. The ER just grows its own way in. Finally, and this is the coolest one, new ER tubules can literally hijack rides from other moving organelles. Whether it's a recycling bin like a lysosome or a powerhouse like the mitochondria, the ER latches onto their back. By piggybacking like this, the ER borrows their molecular motors to reshape itself and scout the cell. It's smarter, faster, and much more direct than traveling alone. But all this remodeling isn't free. It costs the cell a fortune in molecular fuel. So why go through all this trouble just to move a few tubes around? Because in biology, location is everything. Take the cell's recycle bins, the late endosomes and lysosomes. When they need to repair the cell's membrane, they move there, to the edge of the cell. Also, on an even smaller scale, these organelles need to be in the right place at the right time. And that's where the ER comes in. The scientists saw that 90% of these little organelles are tucked inside the ER. The ER actually forms corals, little fences of tubing, that shrink into a tight hug around the late endosomes and lysosomes. This hug isn't for show. It actually helps making them mobile and steer them. Without the ER's guidance, these organelles wander aimlessly. They're like a car with no GPS, lost even when they're sitting right on the microtubule highway. So how does the ER get them moving? Well, it turns out it's a brilliant bit of teamwork. When the ER makes contact, it helps transfer powerful molecular motors directly onto the lysosome's membrane. It's like a pit crew installing a fresh engine, giving the organelle the power to reach its destination. It's not always peaceful though. Sometimes a moving organelle smashes right through an ER tube. It doesn't matter though, the ER is a master of repairs. It heals the breach instantly. Now, it's one thing to guide a tiny lysosome, but it's another thing to control the mighty mitochondria. As it turns out, the relationship between the ER and mitochondria is very intimate and even a little controlling. Like the ER, mitochondria also form dynamic living networks. They are constantly splitting apart or fusing together. But don't be fooled, the ER is the one pulling the strings. When a mitochondrion needs to split, the ER doesn't just watch, it acts like a master technician. It wraps around the organelle, creating a precise point of contact that marks exactly where the break needs to happen. Think of it as a surgical clamp. Even as the mitochondrion shifts and wriggles, the ER maintains a steady, stabilizing grip. It ensures the powerhouse severs perfectly in two and prevents a messy break. But the ER isn't just there for the breakups. It's also the cell's ultimate matchmaker. When two mitochondria need to merge, the ER steps in 60% of the time to smooth the union. It grabs the two partners and holds them steady until they fuse into one high-powered unit. Without the help of the ER, fusion still happens, just slower. So, as you can see, the ER isn't a background player at all. It's the puppeteer of the cellular world, managing organelles and playing matchmaker for mitochondria. If you want to see the full study, I've put the link below. Now, if you enjoy this dive into the chaos inside our cells, leave a like and subscribe. And if you thought you knew everything about mitochondria, check out this video to see their truly weird sides.